welcome to Hamike UK. I'm Vanouhi Petrosyan, and with me today is Noemi Stepan-Sarkissian. And this episode is very unique in the sense that we're going to be jazzing it up and have a general discussion about youth engagement. Hi Noemi.
Hi.
So I've known you for a while, but let's start by introducing ourselves. You can go first.
Okay, so I'm Noemi Stepan-Sarkissian. I was born and raised in London, and I have completed an undergraduate in history at the University of Sussex, after which I went on to do a law conversion at the University of Law, and then my LPC, which is the legal practice course, and a master in law. I will be commencing formal training as a solicitor in March 2023. But in the meantime, I'm working at Citizens Advice as an advisor, where I give clients information about benefits, immigration, housing, family matters, debt, etc. And I've recently started a project working on universal credit, which is the benefit that most people are claiming in the UK now.
I'm Vanouhi, born and raised in London. I work at Westminster City Council alongside many policy initiatives. I hold a Master's in International Relations from LSE, graduated in the summer, but prior to that I did my undergraduate in International Development in King's.
So Vanouhi, it would be interesting to know, I know you have been involved in the community for a number of years, but if you could go into a little bit more detail about your involvement.
Yeah, so like I've mentioned, I was born and raised in London. Actually, we met at the Armenian Sunday School, from which we graduated in 2013. Since then, I've actually been working at the Armenian Sunday School, and it's been 10 years now. And I will be continuing to work at the school for years to come, hopefully, if I have the time. That's for one. During my uni years, I was also president of the Armenian Society at King's College, but given the fact that the King's College Society was the most prominent society at the time, it was something that ranged across all UK universities, so we had a membership of over 200 Armenian students, which was quite prominent, and we organised events during those where we had around 200 people attending, whether that's just social gatherings or cultural events, as well as events discussing social and political issues, or speakers. I've also been the president at the ACYO, the Armenian Church Youth Organisation, and although we've only recently got a team, it has been a one-man show for many years, but I'm really glad to have a team now, and I hope we'll have more of a discussion about that. I've also been a dancer at Ahtamar, and frankly, you can find me everywhere and anywhere in the community. I host this Hamike UK, and I MC quite a lot of the events in the community anyway, so everywhere and anywhere. I just love helping out this community and doing anything I can. So tell me a bit about yourself.
Okay, so similarly as you mentioned, I attended and graduated from the K-Tata Armenian Community Sunday School, and we were in the same class, so that's a coincidence. And after during being at this school, I was also a scout at Hometmen London from the age of 5 to 15, after which I became a leader and took on that role for a number of years. During that time, I also had the opportunity to go to the International Jamboree in Armenia. So one time I was as a scout, and the second time as a leader, so a very different experience for me. And also I've been part of the Hometmen basketball team, so I took part in the Hama Homet Marathon Games in 2017, and I continue to play on the team and hope to take part in future tournaments. I've also been a member of Ahtamar, but unfortunately during COVID that wasn't possible to dance as much, but hopefully we can regroup and start again soon. And I also collaborate now with the Armenian Institute in London, which is focused on organising educational and cultural events which make Armenian culture a living experience both for Armenians and for non-Armenians. And recently I took part in a panel discussion with the Institute all about the Armenian Diaspora survey and the results of the British Armenian community, which was really interesting for me. I also, as you said, you can also find me at a lot of events in the community. I try to take part in protests where I can, And during the recent Artsakh War, I volunteered to help pack boxes to send to the region. So,
Brilliant.
so you mentioned that you've been the president of the ACYO for a number of years. Can you tell me a bit more about the organisation and what initiatives you've been involved in organising?
Yeah. So the ACYO is the Armenian Church Youth Organisation, and it's an initiative to kind of revitalise and remobilise the Armenian community in the UK and the church, with the aim to organise exciting events that would mean that anyone from any background can come along and join. And despite it being focused at youth, we actually make sure to engage everyone in the community, from the elderly to the very youngest members of our community. And so firstly, given that it is a church organisation, we focus on celebrating every single spiritual church events, whether that's the Christmas carols, which we have coming up, or Stepan-Sarkissian, the Holy Feast of Transfiguration. We make sure to put an emphasis on celebrating church events. And where even the pandemic didn't affect us, we were making, for Stepan-Sarkissian, for example, we were making Avi Belithmed online.
Wow. And
having a course online how to make Avi Belithmed. But alongside that, I really value the fact that whilst we do celebrate church events, it's really important to have just this sense of gathering, regardless, so that people realise that members of the clergy are actually just cheerful, approachable people, which you can just speak to and just have general gatherings. So we have Armenian Hub, which is an opportunity just to make friends, socialise. We turn it to anything that we want it to be, whether that's playing table tennis with Stepan, who's really good at it, playing chess, doing khoravats, barbecue, whatever. It's just an opportunity to get together, to get to know each other. And I think that's a prominent role that the ACYO should play. So going along the side of just having general discussions as well, we also organise Wine and Philosophy Nights, which is an opportunity to not only discuss social issues in the world, but also to enjoy that around a festive feast. But we have very prominent discussions there around political and social issues that exist around the world, but also very philosophical issues. The most recent one being based around the digital age and how and the impact of that on our current society. But again, the pandemic didn't really affect us because we organised initiatives online, such as Quiz Night, which did mean that the ACYs from all over the world were able to join. We had members ranging from Romania to the US join online. And then on other occasions, we also do visit the elderly, where we offer them gifts. We just have general discussion. This is usually we have delivery baskets in Easter and Christmas, where we just visit them with a little basket, have a discussion. Just, they enjoy having someone there.
Yeah, of course.
And I think that's one of the main things. We also support the Armenian Summer Festival. We host the boat parties. So I think it's a mix of spiritual, cultural, and social events just to unite the community. And I look forward to working with the new team now to make it bigger and better. So you are the Diaspora Youth Ambassador. Could you please tell me a bit about your programme and why you applied?
Yeah, sure. So the Diaspora Youth Ambassador Programme was initiated by the Office for the High Commissioner for Diaspora Affairs in Armenia and is funded entirely by the Janishyan Foundation. The programme is really aimed at connecting the diaspora with Armenia and forming a dynamic group of youth individuals who are active in their communities and want to develop community activities further and are involved with diaspora Armenia ties. So alongside myself, there are 19 other young ambassadors in 16 countries. So that includes countries like Russia. We have someone from South America, so Argentina, Canada, and several countries in Europe. Unfortunately, due to COVID, we couldn't have anybody from the US, which is a shame, but hopefully next year. So I applied to the programme because I really believe in the mission that it's trying to achieve. I've been active in the community, but I know that there is room for improvement always. And in kind of wanting that room for improvement, I also wanted an opportunity to really be exposed to the reality of Armenia. I've always been to Armenia as a tourist, as a scout, as an athlete for the Hometmen Games, but never really been involved in the day-to-day life of an Armenian living in Armenia, and being able to speak to professionals and government officials, etc., was an experience I knew I would never really have anywhere else. So that was one reason why I applied, but also because I do want to bring back the knowledge that I've gained there to the community and develop the work that I already do here, and try and revitalise the community in a way, because I know we have people in the community who might not feel included and might not feel involved, and it's really important that we bring them together because we're all Armenian at the end of the day.
Yeah, thank you. So you spoke about your visit to Armenia. You did a 2-week visit. Can you please tell me about your experience in Armenia?
Yeah, so the 2-week stay really involved a series of lectures, seminars, workshops, and visits to cultural sites as well. We were able to meet with professionals from every single field you could name, so business, technology, politics, economics, social sphere. And we had discussions about issues like Armenian identity and religion, as well as more practical, as I said, workshops about community engagement and how we can improve that. So the people that we met, for me, were really inspiring, and one in particular, Hofzeh Petrosyan, he spoke about identity and really made us think deeply about what that means and what it means in the 21st century in comparison to what it might have meant 100 years ago, and how it will evolve in the future years. So it was a 2-week, kind of intense 2 weeks where I learnt a lot, but also it raised a lot of questions, which I hope I will, come to answer in the coming months and years. But we also had the opportunity to visit cultural sites. So I have been to Armenia a number of times, but I'd never been to, for example, the Diaspora Genocide Museum. And the visit there was obviously very emotional, very moving, but also so interesting. As an Armenian, you think you know so much about the genocide, but there's so much that we don't know, and so much that I was able to see at that museum, because it was all displayed so effectively in a visual and interactive way. And similarly, we went to the Madanadaran, and again, I'd been there before, but this visit taught me a lot more, because we had a tour guide who explained, everything in detail, and all the things that we learnt about in Armenian school, those historical books, the one that was separated in 2 parts and then joined together, we were able to see that. So that was really great. Artsakh was by far the most inspiring and pivotal moment of the trip, and it's where we really became a family, because before we went to Artsakh, we were obviously concerned about safety given the volatile situation there, but the entire region was covered in fog and mist for the time we were there, and it was as if that was protecting us, because we were going around with this coach, but nobody could see us and we couldn't see them really. And this weather and this atmosphere also really impacted our visit to Gandzasar. So we went there at night actually, so you can imagine the aura and the atmosphere already. But one of the participants in the group, who's a talented singer, he actually spontaneously sang the Diaspora in the church, and it was absolutely incredible, and a moment that I don't think I'll ever forget. And just generally in Artsakh, we were able to meet young people who had so much hope for the future. They had business plans, they were working on their careers, and every single one of them was determined to stay there and to not leave their home. And that was really inspiring for me, because as a diasporan, we always have these misconceptions or these stereotypes of people in Armenia, and I know that after the war many of us thought everybody will leave the region, it's not safe, but these meetings really proved to me that that's not the case. And it's the same with with the youngsters in Armenia. There's so much potential and so much hope, and it was inspiring to me to be able to meet those people and hear their stories, which is something I hadn't been able to do before. also wanted to point out that before I would never have considered moving to Armenia myself. It always seemed like a distant distant reality or distant dream. But being there this time and actually seeing the professional field and the opportunities that are available there, I had to take a step back and think, what is it that I can't get in Armenia, which I have back in the UK, and it's the answer to that question are much more limited now. So
fair enough. Wow.
Okay, so I also know that you went to Armenia in 2019 to take part in an ACYO conference. So could you tell me a bit about your experiences and your perceptions of that conference?
Quite similar actually, so it was very fun, interesting listening to you. The thing unique about ACYO is the fact that we have ACYOs all over the world. There's around over 40 different ACYOs. Ranging from the US to Russia. There's different dioceses in Russia as well, and different in the US. So there's quite a lot and varied dioceses across the ACYO. So there was around 250 of us on a ACYO international conference and pilgrimage, where we visited Armenia and we visited Artsakh as well. Prominently, the first part was again sightseeing, where we visited, like you mentioned, Gandzasar. We also visited Dadivang, and all the other cathedrals. And in Artsakh, we also visited a military Zoramas, so a military service station, I guess, if we could like that, an army in Khojalu, which was very interesting to see. We got to go on their tanks to see just the environment, and seeing those. So we actually got inside a tank and seeing those. Literally, it's like this much space, and it's such a claustrophobic area. And when you reflect on what these boys have to go through at an 18-year-old, just sitting in there during a war, it's horrible. And you have just so much respect for them. So the boys in that particular were people who drive tanks and had professionalism in tanks. But I think that was the most moving experience, actually visiting a military centre. Alongside that, we had multiple conferences which varied in the same sectors that you mentioned, which was technology, business, culture, sports. And we all went to the ones according to our own profession. So I went to mostly the ones around political and social issues. I think what was really interesting about those is the fact that it was a mutual discussion. So it was not only about us getting an idea of what was happening in Armenia, but them getting an idea of what was happening in our communities, and being able to share those experiences and see how we can collaborate around those issues. Particularly abroad, I think the biggest issue we have is assimilation, and that people just don't want to associate themselves with Armenia. But we were trying to think of techniques to get people back into the community, and we have continually collaborated over the years. So every single year, or a couple of times, we do have these conferences. I attended a virtual one, given the COVID, last week. Again, this was a time for interdiocesan collaboration. It was a time for each diocese to share what they've been doing, and to where we have an idea. When we see some prominent stuff happening in other places, we kind of either collaborate or kind of get ideas of what we could be doing in our communities, because we are quite similar. And I think that was one thing as well. We are very similar to the other diasporans, and that was one of the biggest realizations when I was there, to see 250 of them who were basically Vanouhi times 250. So, and that's really prominent for me. So, and we have collaborated. So like I said, the quiz night, we had participants from the online quiz night, we had participants from all over the world. Likewise, I've joined the Friday night services for the US a couple of times during COVID. So we have created this very good collaborative environment, which I think is very prominent, and I really like this about the organisation, that it has this unique collaborative sense for all over the world, and dioceses from all over the world, but also has this spiritual element. And at the end of the Artsakh trip, we actually went to Gaziantep's cathedral and had our final service there. And we had a little a moving moment also in Dadivang, which was all over social media during the war. Even Kim Kardashian shared it, where we were all kind of armed in arm and going and singing Չենք կրնա ընկել մձգել առանց արցունքի, so we can't leave friends behind without a tear. And that I get goosebumps as I say it, because that was shared all over media, and potentially we've left so many friends there in that spot. Yeah, and it's really moving to kind of think about that now, and to think about hopefully one day we can visit again. But God knows.
So you mentioned, interestingly, about when you went to Shushi and the Razan-Chetots Cathedral, and I think for me as well, the Artsakh trip this time with the Youth Ambassador program was very different, because when I had been to Artsakh previously, Shushi was still within our territory, and just driving past the border and seeing Shushi now written in a different language, and not our soldiers standing there protecting the border, it was very moving for me. But equally, as I said, then meeting the youth in Artsakh and everything else that I did reminded me that all hope is not lost, and we mustn't just focus on what we have lost, but rather what we still have and what we can move to in the future.
So that brings us to a very good stage. What are your hopes and for the British Armenian community, for Armenia in general, I guess? What are your hopes and plans?
So as part of the program, this Youth Ambassador program, we are kind of asked to organise a number of events in the community over the next few months, and these will focus on imparting information that we've received from Armenia to our community members here. But also there will be an element on repatriation, which is really interesting for me, because I know that in the British Armenian community it's not often something that's discussed, but I think it's important to also be realistic. I know that most families, most individuals living in this community won't see repatriation as a realistic thing at this point in time. But nonetheless, there are programs like Birthright and EGORDS, which the Office for the High Commissioner for Diaspora Affairs organised last year, which encourage youth or professionals to take their knowledge and expertise and use it in Armenia in a positive way. So EGORDS, for example, it places professionals in government ministries, and they can work there for a couple of months. And it was so successful last year that over 50% of the participants actually stayed and never came back home, which is just a testament to how great the program was. So I would like to encourage young people in the community to participate in these programs. But equally, I also want to bring together all members of the community. As you said, ACYO tries, it's a youth organisation, but it doesn't mean other people can't take part. And equally, I believe the same. We're all Armenian and we should all work together. And in saying we're all Armenian, I also want to mention that we should encourage those who are part Armenian to also be part of the community, because often they can feel excluded because events are in Armenian and they don't feel involved. So I think from all the information that I've taken, all the skills that I've learned, I want to bring that here and impart that and use that in my future activities. I also would like to organise fundraisers for specific projects that I learnt about in Armenia. So, for example, as an ambassador group, we've obviously collaborated since coming back home, and we've decided that the Armad Labs initiative, which is aimed at kind of establishing schools in border towns in Artsakh and Armenia, which teach students about technology, robotics, maths, science, to fund one of those schools, because they really require the equipment, and I think it's such a great project. IT and technology is really advancing in Armenia now, as I'm sure everybody knows, but this new generation of young people, of children, are the future, so we need to invest in them. So Armad is definitely something I want to work on, as well as the Soldiers Rehabilitation Centre. So we went to visit the soldiers there actually, and again, amazing, inspiring people with so much hope and so much modesty. They were thanking, the diaspora for everything we did during the war, when they literally put their life on the line for our homeland. And I really want to support programs like that, because I know, we have fundraised in the British Armenian community, and we did so during the war, but I'd really like to make that more specific and tailored to programs that really need it right now. So that's my plan, and I really hope that I can work with people like you who are also active in the community and doing an amazing job with ACYO.
Brilliant. So leading on, I think I completely agree with you that the most important thing in our community is unity, and the words "there is salvation in our unity" it's not just said, there is meaning in that, and I think that's a motto that I would like to take forward in that sense. And in fact, uniting everyone regardless of their background is something that I also very much focus on, because two members of our team are also part Armenian, and they have recently joined the Armenian community, and they have absolutely loved it. And I really hope that having these role models in the committee, people will be able to recognise that they can also join and have as much of a lovely time as anyone who is full Armenian, quarter Armenian, part Armenian, or regardless of their age or whatever, wherever or whatever they are. And I think I look forward to also organising more events, given that we have more of a team now. So the one coming up are the Christmas carols. I think one thing that we do focus on is that we still do live in the UK, so we join our British or Protestant or Church of England brothers and sisters to in the 25th, celebrating the 25th.
Yeah.
So that's why we organise Christmas carols, which is a service run mostly in English, but with an Armenian touch to it. And we have a little party afterwards in Gulbenkian Hall, so that's on Friday the 10th of December, from 6:30 at Stepan-Sarkissian. And we hope to continue the Armenian Hub, which is just general gatherings, which most recently, again, we turn that into whatever we wanted to turn it to. Most recently, we turned it into a jazz night, a very, very interesting one.
Looks amazing.
Thank you. So we turn it, and then there's the wine and philosophy nights, which we are looking to expand more on. I think what's really interesting about these is the fact that it's in our hands. We can do whatever we want, and I really hope to collaborate more with students, with yourself, with more of the organisation, because we have one goal we're here, is to be Armenian, showcase that to the world, showcase that to us, and to stay Armenian. So as a thing, I'm going to say follow ACYO London on Facebook and Instagram, and you can obviously plug in your page too.
Yeah, so I have an official Facebook and Instagram page. It's Diaspora Youth Ambassador _GB. And we also have an event coming up actually with the cartographer Revitalising, who will be speaking about the significance of the maps between Armenia and Azerbaijan, which I think is quite topical at the moment.
So thank you for joining us, and we do hope that you will be joining us at our events. Thank you, Noemi.
Thank you for having me.